Awesome. So today, just a couple quick things. This webinar should run just under an hour. Hopefully we can get through it a little bit quicker so y'all can get back to your lives, but we appreciate y'all taking the time to meet with us today. So we're going to start off with some basic general announcements, housekeeping, things like that. And then we're going to get into some of the new updates that we've released since HLP was released, and we did a whole breakthrough release in September. So I'm not sure that we've done one of these since then, which is cool. So we're first focusing on migrating to the new algorithm. I'll get into that a little bit, but now everybody can migrate. So we'll go through the steps on how to do that, how to use our new migration tool, which is super useful, very neat. Then we'll get into the price evolution data and just overall how we've redesigned the neighborhood data tab. If you aren't currently using neighborhood data, this is a great time to explore it. We'll get into that a little bit. And then we'll talk about our enhanced pacing charts and improved orphan gap customizations. If y'all have any questions, please use the Q&A. That's what we're here for. So anything not clear, anything that needs to be repeated, or anything that you have top of mind, just let us know and we will do our best to answer it. But cool. So let's start off with some general announcements.
Very cool. And I can take this on. Thank you so much, Becca. So we're doing, or I am running this 12-day educational series, which is kind of like the 12 days of Christmas. But primarily it's for less than 5 listing hosts. So if you have more than 5, you're not going to get a lot of value out of this. But we're going to cover a bunch of basic things. We'll do short, bite 5-minute, maybe 10-minute kind of content, followed by 10 to 15 minutes of Q&A. There's a QR code right there. If you think you can get value out of listening to me for 20 minutes across 12 days, please do sign up. We're going to cover some very basic things, but also how to make tweaks in PriceLabs, what to look for so that you're ready for 2024, right? That link will take you to sign up for day 1, which is on December 4th, and then subsequently if you're signed up, you'd get the future invites for subsequent days. In addition, integrations, property management system integrations is a critical thing for us to continue to provide value to larger set of property managers and hosts. So we continue to build integrations, and this month again we've built out 4 integrations. We today integrate with a little over 100 property management systems, and we're continuing to integrate to more and more. And also we have very robust APIs. So if you're looking to bring your system and integrate into PriceLabs, you can connect to our APIs and access PriceLabs as well. So excuse me. So those 2 things. 12 days of PriceLabs here, but if you have more than 5 properties, you'll not get as much value out of it. It'll be focused towards owners and hosts. But if you are an owner and a host, and if you feel like I'm kind of lost in PriceLabs, I'm not sure what levers to pull, please do sign up, and we'll do small sessions every day and go through how to set up your PriceLabs really well. Cool. Back to you, Becca.
Perfect. Thanks, Richie. And somebody did ask a great question. I think I forgot to say this at the beginning. This is being recorded. So if you have to hop off early, that's totally fine. This will be posted on our YouTube channel as soon as it's done processing and we're able to post it. So probably in the next day or so, we'll have it up. So if you're able to stick around for the whole thing, awesome. We'd love to have you. But if you do need to hop off, we completely understand.
And I want to correct one mistake. I said Chad Bryant. That name sounds familiar, and I of course went and searched our CRM. So my apologies, Chad. Of course, we know each other really well.
Awesome. So awesome. So now we're going to talk a little bit about how to migrate to Hyperlocal Pulse, our new version of our algorithm. So something really exciting. When we first launched this back in September, we had been testing it for a long time about for a couple months, we were A/B testing. So some of our new users were actually already on the new algorithm. Some of them were on the old algorithm. And since we launched it, all of our new users are on the new algorithm. But if you have been on PriceLabs for a while, or if you signed up during that sort of period, we were rolling it out slowly, right? So we were rolling it out in batches. You may have gotten an email saying, hey, you can migrate now. But just recently, we opened up migration to everyone. So let's go into how we're actually going to switch from the new or from the old algorithm to hyperlocal pulse. So a couple of reasons why you actually want to migrate. Our team didn't just spend 2 years to reinvent the algorithm just because. It is a much more advanced algorithm. It's using data in a much better way. And there's a couple of key things that we want to point out here. So first is your increased revenue potential. So from our trials, we've actually seen that this new algorithm can improve revenues by an additional 9% compared to the previous models. Now, if you're a new user, I believe the number that we're saying for users that haven't been on PriceLabs, if you switch to PriceLabs and you use a new algorithm, we're seeing a 26% uplift in RevPAR, and we expect that to increase as time goes on. So really, really great metrics there. Definitely huge potential for your earnings. So definitely our number one reason. Two, we've got these really great exclusive features. So the way that we're, handling data now is giving us a lot more flexibility to sort of allow us to price your properties specifically for your market. So things like our last minute prices, our far out premiums, and maybe a couple of other cool features that we'll release in the coming months will now be able to be powered by the hyperlocal data in your market. So this doesn't just mean that it's specific to your listing, your size listing in your area, but this is going to change throughout the year. So things like I was saying, your last minute prices, those are going to potentially look different if you're going into your high season and maybe have a different booking window than when you're going into maybe a low season or a shoulder season. So a lot more reactive there. The third thing is our event and holiday detection. This has really been improved. We've always been doing a great job. That's why a lot of people come to us is for that event detection. We're just going above and beyond now. So we now have a 4-way event detection that considers pacing from the previous year, early demand signals from upcoming dates, future competitor pricing cues, and also hotel price indications. So if you want to really be ahead of the game and make sure that you are priced correctly for events and sort of high demand, even if it's not like a specific event, but something that's going on in your market that's really driving up demand for specific days, the new algorithm is going to do a much better job of this. And I like to point out that we're really putting, because we're now taking into account a lot of pacing, changes in the market, and this kind of ties into our fourth reason here in faster response. Say your holiday season this year, maybe Christmas or New Year's, is shaping up differently than it has in years past. Maybe New Year's was like through the roof last year, but we're not really seeing that same like occupancy developing. This is going to affect our pricing. So it's going to be a lot more accurate. And then finally, faster response. So not just faster response, but just generally more improved responsiveness is what I've seen as I've been working with clients moving from the old algorithm to the new algorithm. The market is constantly changing. I think everybody kind of talks about the new normal, and the new normal in your market compared to your neighboring market, compared to a market across the world from you, are going to look like very different things. So the new algorithm does a much better job of capturing the nuances in your market, as well as responding to those nuances. So definitely recommend migrating over to HLP, and we're trying to make it really easy for you with this new module that we've created. So I'm not sure if we have the blog post article, if we can drop that in chat. I don't know that we have chat available, but I believe in our latest product update newsletter, it was probably right in there. So you can probably search your email or look in our blog for the migration steps. But it's super simple. The first thing you want to do is actually check on which algorithm you're running. Are you using the new algorithm or are you using the old algorithm? If you're already on the new algorithm, you don't even have to do anything. So I'll show you that quickly. So in your PriceLabs dashboard, and I had one in particular. So all the way up at the top here, sorry, I'm using a demo account with a lot of listings here. So here, let me search a couple, or I'll search. Okay. So here, if you're not sure which algorithm you are on, if you log in and you kind of see this view, you're going to want to add the, I actually just need to move over. You want to add a column that shows you the algorithm version. You can do this from the row column visibility button right here. It's going to be the last option on your column. So if I uncheck this, you'll notice that that algorithm version disappears. If I check it again, you'll see it right here. Now, if you are on the new algorithm, it will say Hyperlocal Pulse. If you're on the old algorithm, you will see old algorithm and the Start Migration button. So if you click this here, it's going to give you the option to switch to the new algorithm. You'll turn this on. You'll go from old to new evolution data and our new redesigned neighborhood data. So this is really great. This is something that people have been asking us for a while. They say, hey, I'd love to know what my prices were yesterday or 7 days ago. And now we're actually showing you where your prices were and how they've evolved over time. So this is going to help you with decision making, and it's just giving you more clarity, a little bit more transparency of where your prices have been in the past. So if we look at my account, and if you haven't checked out neighborhood data, our 101 or basic onboarding webinar does a really good job of getting into how to use neighborhood data. So I'm going to go to review prices, and then next to my calendar is neighborhood data. Now, I want to point out a couple of things here because we've updated this page quite a bit. And it should be a little bit faster than it was before, which is really great. It's also a little bit cleaner. So we've added just some darker headers here. The way that we actually list things, we're trying to make it a little bit more usable. So from user feedback, the competitor map and competitor calendar, those are two of the most useful things. So we've actually brought those up in the list so they're a little bit easier to access. Now, if we're looking at your pricing chart, and I will zoom out, we're going to look at the next 1 year. Something else that you can now do is look at your pricing evolution. So before we add more lines to this chart, I do want to just, in case you are new here, the shaded areas in the background of this chart are showing the market percentiles, or sort of the range of pricing in the market around you. The black line is showing your current calculated prices. So if I were to click sync now, the black line, those are the prices that we would actually be sending to the PMS or connected account. Now, if I click on more options, my account's going to have 2 checkboxes here. Yours will probably only have one, just a little funky thing with my demo account. So, but I'm going to click on show price evolution. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to add additional lines. It's going to show you by default your prices 7 days ago. You can also add your prices 1 day ago and your prices 30 days ago to see how things have changed over time. Now, if I hover over dates, you're also going to see a little snapshot of this pricing evolution in this tooltip that pops up. So for example, if we're looking at July 4th, my price is currently 700. Yesterday it was 700, but you can see that it's slowly been, or it may have dropped because I made some sort of change 30 days ago. But in the past 7 days, from 7 days to 2 days to 1 day, it's slightly raised a little bit. So that may very well be because of changes in the market. It may be because of things that I've done within my account to make changes. But again, hopefully this is giving you a little bit more transparency and understanding of how your prices are changing over time, which is really cool. I see we have a bunch of questions coming in. Anything related to this or anything that you want me to touch on?
Sorry. Nothing related to
No,
this. There are
sorry.
questions associated with HLP,
Okay,
but nothing related to this.
perfect. Awesome. So hopefully that all makes sense. Next thing, just like we've sort of revamped our charts in neighborhood data, we've also revamped portfolio analytics in our pacing chart. So if you go to portfolio analytics, down to the second option, you'll see pacing. And again, this page used to look a little bit different. We've made a couple of changes that are going to make your life a little bit easier. And this is all really just based on user feedback of how can we improve the user interface to make your experience more positive, a little bit more seamless while you're using our tools. And I've got the little blue loading circle. Apologize, I did have this open and loaded before because I know sometimes with my demo account, it's kind of a funny set of data. It takes a while to load. Awesome. Beautiful. So before, if you wanted to make any adjustments to the charts below, you would have had to click this little hamburger menu here. We've now updated it so that you can make changes just from this bar, and then you can update charts immediately. You can also remember your selections here. So if you're going and looking at different filters, if you're doing different things on this chart, this is going to be sticky. So you don't have to go in and constantly sort of reselect your preferred options. So like in my case, I like looking not at a monthly aggregation, but I like looking at either a weekly or daily. And sometimes I think 6 months is too far out. Maybe I'm just really focused on the next 3 months. And I know that this is the PHL market, and I don't like to use a comp set. So I can just click this remember selection button, and it's going to be sort of stuck there. So I'm not going to have to go in and continually update these. I'll click this update charts button. And actually, I think it had already updated the charts as I was making these changes, but this button is also there. So beautiful. So the actual charts themselves haven't really changed. Really, the main thing here is this selection. Hopefully it's going to make your experience a lot faster, a lot cleaner. And again, if you all have any other feedback for us, we're always listening. So please do reach out to us if there's anything we can do to make your lives easier. Yeah, so I kind of already explained these two things. So we'll move on to our final update, our improved
Let's
orphan
go to
gap cut.
Becca, let's go to
I'm
the
sorry.
migration and then we'll come back to this. Let's go
Oh,
back to the migration and then we'll come back to this.
yeah.
It will work. Just guys, if you're following us along, we're just hearing from engineering that we're getting a lot of traffic on the migration screen at the same time, which is making it kind of not work. They're load balancing right now, but if you could not follow us along click by click, but just focus on this part of the webinar, listen us out, and um, then try it on your own. We'd send you the recording, but yeah, don't follow us along. We're right now trying to balance the load on this migration screen. We designed it for 100 concurrent users, but I think we're seeing a lot more in one go.
I love that y'all are participating though. That's awesome. Very cool. So awesome. So we're back in the other test account where we can take a look at how to do these migrations, right? So I'm going to go ahead and add that algorithm version back. You'll see that I've selected these two listings that are still on the old algorithm, but we want to bring them to the new algorithm. So this first listing, we're going to see sort of a basic migration. So again, we're going to turn this on. We're going to switch to new algorithm. And boom, that's the chart that I was hoping to see. So we've got a couple of lines here, right? So essentially, again, I was sort of starting to allude to this in when we were looking at this before, but with the new algorithm, because we are taking different data into account, because we are handling that data differently, and because it's just generally improved, there are going to be price differences, and we want you to be aware of them. So that's why we didn't just flip the switch and make everybody or move everybody onto the new algorithm. This is something that we do want you to be aware of, because there might be some changes that you need to make to your account in order for your pricing to sort of line up and continue to work as expected. So here you'll see a couple of different lines, right? It's a very similar chart to what you see in neighborhood data. We're just not showing you your market information. The first thing you're going to see is this black line. Now, this is your present prices with all of your customizations. So this is your pricing before the new algorithm. We also have a red solid line. Oops. We're going to focus just on this one. This is the final price with the new algorithm. So all of your customizations that are currently in place with this black line are still in place with the red line here. And then we added a third option here, and this is your uncustomized price. So essentially what your uncustomized price is the PriceLabs recommendation with your base price and market factors, but nothing else. So if you have, if you've customized your seasonality, if you've customized your demand factor, if you have, any customizations that you've specifically set yourself, this is basically showing you this is what PriceLabs would do if you had just stuck with our defaults. Now, this is supposed to be sort of like a sort of sanity check line, right? Because if you add your new prices and they look much different than your old prices, you want to say, okay, is it something that I am doing? Is it something that is the customization in my account that I've made? Or is it just a change because of the new algorithm? Now, we do try to highlight any changes that we recommend you make. So you'll notice here that this is saying for this listing, your current base price is $150, but we recommend raising your base price by 4% to $155 so that we're better matching your current pricing structure. You can either decline this and say, I actually don't want to make that change, or you can accept and save changes, and that will actually switch you onto the new algorithm for this listing. Now, I did want to show you a sort of more complicated example, and that's the second to none listing. I hope that I saved the changes that I made. So we're going to turn this on and go to new algorithm. Hopefully. Awesome. Okay, so you'll notice that the prices look a little bit crazy for this listing, right? It's a little bit odd looking. Now, I have a ton of customizations in here. This is kind of a goofy listing as it is. But what I wanted to do is I added a whole bunch of customizations so that you could see if you have things like day of week pricing, a custom seasonal profile where you're changing your base price, or you've changed your demand factor, you can actually turn these off and see how your prices change. So if I turn this off, and I turn off my custom seasonal profile and I turn off my demand factor, I can refresh my graph and it's going to update how the prices look. So I will say that this line looks a little bit funny, but you'll notice that the red line has adjusted to sort of match what I wanted it to do. I've now said, hey, HLP is much better at understanding day of week changes throughout the year. It's much better at understanding seasonal changes throughout the year. And I no longer need to adjust my demand factor because of it. So if you are using a strategy and using a customization that's maybe like outside of market norms, like I've seen some people that go all in on weekends and they raise their weekend prices by a ton. They're much higher than the market, but that's their strategy. They might want to leave their day of week pricing adjustments alone just because that's something that they just want to do. Now, if you found that you've made customizations and adjustments in your account to make up for areas that PriceLabs was lacking, then you likely will have to turn these off because our algorithm will be much better. This isn't a great chart. This is kind of a funky test listing to have shown you, but hopefully it gets the point across. How I know we've got a ton of questions about HLP. Anything that I can answer?
Yeah. Can you maybe you don't have or maybe you don't have a property. Can you tell fast people how to identify which version are they on?
Yes, yeah. So we touched on that before. I can unfilter.
Let's remove one of the filters. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Anurag, this account has like a lot of properties. So
Yeah, I
take
know. So you'll notice, so like, and this is actually a good point too. So if you have mapped listings, so like if you're using both Airbnb and Vrbo and you've mapped them together, you only need to migrate the parent listing. Your child listings won't have a migration button because you need to migrate the parent and then automatically the child will also be migrated. So if you aren't seeing a button, that's likely why. But you will see once you are on Hyperlocal Pulse, you'll still be able to review your migration. You'll notice that under the algorithm version, you will see Hyperlocal Pulse, but you can still take a look at this module if you want to. And then, of course, I think I should be able to find one. Yep, so this was that flip-flop lagoon that we were looking at before. I can click Start Migration. You'll see old algorithm, and that'll bring you to that page here. And now that I'm thinking about it, I may have been looking, the reason why that graph looked, yeah, so this graph looked funny because it was actually already migrated. I thought that I chose one that wasn't migrated. So that's part of why that graph looked
cool.
not as expected.
Cool. So hopefully, does anyone have questions on if you have see like how to understand if what algorithm version you're on? I think there was a question from Victoria, someone, Vanessa. So you'd want to go in and see if which version are you already on. And Becca, maybe they won't see it directly, so maybe they'd have to select that column as well. Sometimes.
Exactly.
Can
So
you?
sometimes this column's just hidden by default. Again, you'll go to the row column visibility, and it's the last one here. So you can hide it if you've done all of your migrations, you don't want to see it anymore, or you can add it if you are unsure of which algorithm you're on.
Very cool. Yeah, so you'd see that, and then if you are on old, then you'd see also a review migration button, right? But if you're already on, or sorry, not review migration, migrate button. But if you're on new or new, you would just see review migration button or nothing else, right? Becca, can you like I know you already did this, but can you migrate once more and pick any one property and migrate once more
Yeah, I
if
think
you
the
have any?
flip-flop, I think flip-flop's the only one. Yep.
There. Yeah. Okay. Let's do this. Yeah.
Yep. So you would have this switch. You go from old algorithm to new algorithm. In this case, we don't have any customizations. Your, seasonal based prices, demand factor, or day of week price adjustments, none of those are being applied to this listing. So our system says, actually, this one's pretty good. We're pretty confident in the settings. There's nothing that sort of outside of our control that's being applied, but we are saying we recommend you to change your base price just by a little bit, just based on how the new algorithm is performing in your market. And then you would just click accept base price and save changes. And then boom, successfully updated. So now the next time that we sync, so keep in mind when you make changes in PriceLabs, we're not automatically syncing. You could go in and click sync now, or you can wait until our next automatic sync for this listing. And that's when your prices would be live essentially.
Very
Now,
cool. Yeah, some questions on that, unless you had something else to add, Becca.
no, of course.
Okay. Manish is asking, should we switch all of our properties to new algorithm? What do you suggest?
Yeah, I would. I mean, go through and well, it depends on the size of your account, right? So I think I did see Jorge did ask, do you migrate more than 20 properties at once? Um, if you have a smaller account, if you have less than 10 listings, go ahead, take the time. You can go through and look at them all. It shouldn't take, more than like 20 or 30 seconds to actually do the migration. Um, if you have a larger account, I would take a look at similar types of listings, so similar sizes and similar markets, because those are kind of the two main things that are going to be affected, right? Is location and size. That's kind of changing the comp set from the old algorithm to the new algorithm. So if you have a bunch of, say, 5 bedrooms in Colorado Springs, all kind of in the generally same area, you would expect for the algorithm to be the same or be very similar for those 5 bedrooms or however many you have. So you could probably look at 1 or 2 of those, maybe migrate 1 or 2 individually. And then if you're using group or account level customizations, we'll go to the customizations page and show you where you can do this here. Once you're confident with the ones that you've reviewed in that group or in sort of that, even if they're not existing in a group, you know that they're very similar. You can do it at the group or account level. So you can click this review migration button. It exists at your accounts and your group levels. The difference here is that you're not going to see a pricing graph, right? We don't necessarily show you like an average of your pricing, because you could have different price listings all in the same group. So really the only thing we're highlighting here is if there are group level or account level customizations that you might need to turn off, like again, the demand factor, day of week price, or custom seasonal and base prices. So you would see those highlighted here. You would have the option to turn them off, and then you would click save changes. But I would go through and take a look at like the actual pricing changes, just because I think it's important that you are informed of what the new algorithm is going to look like in each of your properties.
Very cool. Thank you so much. I think you covered 2 questions with the same one, which was it's a question around migrating 20 properties together, and also there was a question around how does this happen at a group level? So thank you so much for that. There is a question around will child listings that are on the same PMS as the parent listings also switch to new algorithms automatically? Joel, yes, they should. If those like child listings, if they're mapped in PriceLabs or if they're multi-units in your PMS, yes, they automatically move over, right? But if you have some setup where you have child listings in your PMS, but they're not in PriceLabs, then maybe not. But mostly, if you're using child listings as a PriceLabs term, yes, if you migrate the parent, the child would migrate. Cool.
Mhm.
Then I have a question here. How good is HLP? Is it kind of a beta thing? Have 230 properties in our account. So considering how we would tackle this. So
Uh,
go on,
oh,
Becca.
okay. No, I would not call it a beta thing, especially this latest release. We are basically opening the floodgates.
Yep.
We've been testing HLP for the past 2 years. We have been developing it and looking at it in both live and simulated situations. Again, we were beta testing all of our customers for several months before we even announced it or released it to the general public. So that's customers with 1,000 listings, customers with 10 listings. It was sort of an A/B test that was blind. So we have full confidence in Hyperlocal Pulse. Of course, if you have any feedback or questions about the pricing that you're seeing or the data that you're seeing, we're here to make that accessible, and we're here to help you understand. So we are still improving upon it. There's still things that are going in as we're getting feedback, as we are learning more about the algorithm. Just like our old algorithm, we call this version 10, but there are probably maybe hundreds of little versions in between all of the major updates that we changed. So we have full confidence in it. I've migrated pretty much all of my accounts, all the ones that I've talked to in the past, like 4 or so months. And all of them have had really good results. If any of them have questions, then we are, our data team is here to fully explore and answer those questions. So I think that the benefits that we've seen definitely outweigh the hesitation of it being a new algorithm.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
See, like if you were a new user at PriceLabs, we'd automatically have you at HLP, right? So that's the confidence that we have, right? The reason why we can't auto migrate all of our old users into HLP, and we have done a sizable portion of them already, because you may have made certain custom settings or custom things in your account that were trying to counter how our old algorithm was working, right? And those settings still remain. And if we migrate you to HLP, now just something as simple as say, um, you'd added a Sunday premium of 50% to counter our old algorithm because it wasn't doing it as well, or for your own needs. But now HLP does that really well. Now suddenly you have a very high Sunday price, right? Which is why we can't migrate our old users. So old users will need to migrate with making some of those changes. If you are a new user, all new users are on HLP. So that hopefully should give you the confidence on that's where we're moving. And also along with moving to HLP, we are also introducing new things that HLP now allows us to do. HLP in if you've not heard me say this before, I've said this probably on multiple webinars at this point, but we've been doing this for 2 years, right? We've been building up to this point of where we are ready to migrate for about 2 years. We started in November or December of 2021, started building out the new algorithm. We built out the algorithm by mid to end of last year. Then we started pseudo testing, where we were not really testing on any live properties, but we were running simulations, right? And then around April of this year, we started running tests on live properties. Around July or August of this year, all new accounts are on HLP, and now we're getting to migrate to all of the older accounts. It's like we're talking about revenue, we're talking about price. It's a long drawn process, right? So it takes time, but yeah, we're very, very, very confident about HLP. The second question that there was a question that maybe Becca you already answered, but there was a question around uh, would I still need to tweak things, or some places where I may manually need to adjust things, right? So that's still possible, right? Because and there are two reasons for this. Number one and most common reason is because your the way you see revenue for your property or pricing for your property may be little different than the rest of the market, right? You may want to be you have your customized needs, in which case you may need to still manually adjust, right? Number two might be that we are missing out on something, right? So both are possible. More often than not, it ends up being that you have a custom need that you're looking at, right? And so but having said that, if you do feel like you're manually adjusting something significant, and it's not different from the market, and that's how market should be, please do email us at support@pricelabs.co, and we'd happily take a look to saying what's happening with your specific property. There is a question from Chad. I've migrated 90 listings. Is there at listing level, when I click review migration, it just brings up the button about migrating again? Is there a way to retroactively see before and after?
Currently, no, but it is something that our team is developing. So I would expect really soon, just like we were seeing the prices, like the evolution of prices on your neighborhood data chart. Relatively soon, there will be a prices before HLP option. So once you've migrated, you can still see changes. Of course, you can kind of see that in the evolution of prices chart too. Like if you've made the change in the past 30 days or past 2 or 7 days. But we're going to try to highlight that to make it very easy and clear to access.
Yeah. But then again, like do take into account that every day as demand evolves, we do change prices, right? So even if you had, like, we're not running two algorithms in parallel. That's going to be extremely intensive process for us, right? So we're at any point of time, we're only running one algorithm for your property, right? So even if you see a price point from the older algorithm, it might be for an for like the older demand supply situation, right? We have A/B tested across properties with older algorithm, with HLP, without HLP, without any pricing algorithm, etc. Right? And we do feel very very confident that HLP delivers very very good results. Now, if you're a large user, you probably there's probably a little bit more effort to migrate because you have some things that you'd already done on the prior account. So we completely understand that will take time. But a lot of our newer features will come on top of HLP. There is also a question around should I put like some dates like July 4th are super high. Should I go in and put a max price, right? Max price, there are two reasons for it. One, we don't want to, if the demand has not evolved really yet, we sometimes for a very, very high demand date, we want to keep prices high because we want to wait to see how the demand shapes up, right? And we don't want to be one of the first ones to book. So especially like July 4th, we are 7 months out, 8 months out at this point, right? And so we may not want to really taper that price, right? But now if you feel like, hey, that's super high, people will not find the property value for money, it's so high, right? In that case you may want to put a max price in there. Okay. There is a question which I'm not very sure. In the Promio video, there was a feature which showed estimated annual income based on current base price and estimated occupancy. Can you please show us how to see the chart for each listing? Maybe that was a market dashboard video. And you were looking at a custom comp set, Alberto. I'm not fully sure. But today we don't show you estimated annual income, something that we're working on, but estimated annual income for your specific property. What you can see is what do we expect for a market, for a region, either through our free revenue estimator on our website or market dashboard, to calculate what the estimated occupancy would be. And Vicky Fazzini, this is kind of a similar question for Airbnb analysis. Determine if you purchase a property and if it should be for short-term rentals. You can use the revenue estimator, which is a little bit more at a higher level, where you just put in the address and it gives you the details, or you can use our market dashboards to identify comp sets. Duck is asking, can we request a customized meeting to walk through our specific accounts? Duck, depends on how many properties that you have. We do have account managers above 50 plus properties where we can do these calls more frequently. For smaller hosts, we do recommend that if you have questions, please do reach out to us on support with specific questions. We can, of course, get on a call to answer those, but try to be precise on your questions so that we can keep, like, essentially we're trying to keep the cost low for every user at PriceLabs. Cool. Chad is asking, don't forget to mention the desktop app download and the advantages of it. Maybe Becca, do you want to say that? Thank you, Chad, for keeping me honest.
Of course. I did just want to say, I'm showing here, if you're interested in the free revenue estimator, you'd go to hello.pricelabs.co, resources, and then the revenue estimator is right there. This is if you are thinking about potentially investing in an Airbnb, this is a good tool to use. Vicky, I saw your question there, so just wanted to touch on that. Now it's going to be a little bit hard to show because I actually have already downloaded the desktop app. But if you click in the upper right-hand corner where your initials are in PriceLabs, just by where your user ID is, you'll actually see the option to download our desktop app. Now, this, I believe, is powered by Google Chrome still, but it lightens the load a little bit on your browser. It tends to be a lot faster. So if you find that PriceLabs tends to be a little bit slow, try the desktop app. It can make your life a lot easier.
Yeah, we essentially, it works on any Chromium browser. So it's whether that's Chrome, whether that's Internet Explorer Edge, not Explorer, Internet Edge, right, or whatever it's called now, Edge browser, something, right? There are there are a few other Chromium browsers, right? And for all of those browsers, the app works. It does not work for Safari or Mozilla yet, right? But for most of the newer browsers and Google and Chrome, the app works. And like Becca said, it's faster because we're no longer sharing resources with the rest of the tabs on your screen, but we're able to run just on the browser very, very well, and use your computer's resources well. Cool. Becca, are you answering Steve's question? Do you want to ask it? Oh, you just typed it in?
No,
Okay,
so there's
cool.
another Becca on here, and I'm not sure who it is. Answer my question.
What?
I'm not typing
Oh my
anything.
God.
Somebody from support must have joined.
If you're answering questions on behalf of, if we have like a Becca intruder, please do let us know who you are. Please declare yourself. For all this while, I was like, how are you answering questions while speaking?
I
I was
was
like, this
like
is some
watching
crazy
myself
skill
answer
that you have.
questions, and I didn't understand.
Okay, we have one more feature to cover, Becca. Let's go through that because we are at
Yeah.
like 5 minutes to the end.
Super quick. This one's really, really cool. It's a little bit complicated to understand, but hopefully we can get through it together. Hopefully, fortunately, I need to sign out and then sign back in because I needed to make some blocks on my calendar. There we go. So essentially, we've recently made change to how you can manage your gaps in your bookings, or what we consider orphan gaps. So like if you have a booking and then 2 days open and then another booking, that's what we consider an orphan gap. Now, there's a couple of different areas where you can control rules around orphan gaps, minimum stay, as well as the price. Now, we have really, really in-depth rules for both minimum stay and pricing. But there was one thing that people have been asking for quite some time that we've now been able to release. So essentially, I can actually open this up in my account to make it a little bit clearer to I've got some gaps in here. So let's start with Orphan-day pricing, right? So I can turn this on, and by default, we're looking for gaps of 2 nights or less and discounting them by 20%. But you can come in here and do whatever you want. You can raise prices for gaps, you can lower prices for gaps, and you can do different rules for different lengths of gaps. Up until recently, you could not do different rules for the same length of gap during different time ranges or date ranges. And now with this new release, you are able to do that. So before, you could say, I want my weekdays to be 100 and my weekends to be 200. We're just doing a fixed amount. You can also do a percent change for gaps between, we'll say, 2 and 4 nights. Now, this would apply within the entire calendar. So from today's check-in all the way out, I think we only price out 720 nights maximum, but we're saying as far as my calendar goes, this is the rule that's going to apply. Now, people were asking us, they're saying, hey, we maybe want this rule to apply last minute, but if it's a little bit further out on my calendar, I might want to do something different. Instead of a fixed amount, maybe I want to say, let's do a 20% increase or something like that. But we'll just stick with fixed for now. We'll say I want 200 for weekdays and 300 for weekends for gaps between 2 and 3 nights. Now I can change this here and say, okay, I only want this area, this 100 and 200 rule, to apply within the next 30 days. Actually, let me take a look at we're going to make a change here based on my minimums. So let this work, 275. We'll say 300, and we'll say this is 300. And cool. So I'm going to say 275 and 300 from 0 to 30 days, and then 31 to, the rest of my calendar. For the same gaps, we're going to apply a different rule. and I'll click Save Changes. Now, this is something that wasn't an option before, so it's really cool that we've made this change here. And I've got some date specific overrides, so those are messing with my perfect. So you'll now see, so of course we're hitting the minimum, but if we look here, I'm pointing at my screen and you can't see it. On the pricing tooltip, there's sort of like a pink highlighted area near the bottom that says Orphan-day fixed price $275. And that's because it's within 30 days. Now, if I look at my prices, outside of 30 days, sorry, should have cleaned up my account a little bit better. Perfect. So that's within 30. And perfect. So now we have this gap here outside of 30 days, and this is now that Orphan-day fixed price of 300 that I had set. So this applies for really anywhere that we're dealing with orphan nights or nights sort of around other settings. So you can have different rules for your minimum stay for different gaps in different booking windows. You can have different rules if you use our adjacent day settings. You can apply sort of the same logic there. And of course, the pricing for orphan days that I just showed you. Hopefully this is helpful. It's something I'm really excited about, even though it is one of the more sort of complicated features that we have. Cool. Any questions on that?
Along with questions, there is one feedback that I just got from a product team. If you're migrating on PriceLabs on product, right? Sorry, on groups. After you've migrated on groups, wait for about 10 minutes and make sure to go through your base price recommendations, because you're migrating on groups and base price recommendations are at listing level. So do make sure after maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes to look at your base price recommendations, because we may have some base price recommendations for you. Cool. There's a question around, there's still someone who's Becca Madigan that's answering the questions. I'm not sure. Can you use this tool for potential Airbnb analysis determining, I think we just answered this, which is yes, but not dynamic pricing, but our market dashboards, or there's a revenue estimator tool that you can use. Natasha is asking, I just launched my first STR 2 days ago, and I'm a new PriceLabs client. Almost all books say don't use PriceLabs until you have 3 guests or 3 reviews. Anyway, I can indeed integrate with PriceLabs for these initial listings, but still offer a low 20-40% discount recommended to drive interest. So you can't necessarily give discount for the next 3 bookings, right, in PriceLabs. But what you can do is maybe discount your initial X days, and then Natasha, monitor this. Like once you get those 2-3 bookings, take off that discount. Becca, maybe do you want to quickly show override if you have your account open?
Yeah, so a couple of things that I would sort of point on. I think like Vrbo and maybe Airbnb for new listings will give you that option to do a discount for the first couple. Totally fine to apply discounts outside of PriceLabs. Just keep in mind that the prices, once they leave our system, we don't control them anymore. So when you're setting your minimum price up, keep in mind any discounts. Like if you have a 40% discount for the first 3 bookings you get, you might want to set your minimum a little bit higher than you normally would, just so you're not getting your pricing to be too low for comfort. I would also say just generally, if you are a new user on PriceLabs, or if you have new listings, it's good to have like a strong start to get a lot of bookings, maybe at a lower rate, because in the long term, I believe it's going to help like your SEO or where you show up in the search results on those OTAs or things like Airbnb and Vrbo. If you want to just do a discount for like the next couple of weeks, you can do a date specific override like I have here. You can either highlight the calendar like that, or you can click add where it says date overrides here. And this will allow you to just do, hey, a flat discount or even a flat price if you want. Now, the other thing that I like, if you're a new user, is our occupancy-based adjustments. Now, this is if you've, I think they might be under smart presets. They're definitely going to be under general, almost at the bottom, occupancy-based adjustments. You can turn this on and set this to super aggressive discounting. And essentially what this is going to do is it's going to discount all of your rates until you get more occupancy. So essentially here, and I know this is kind of going probably a little bit deeper than you wanted to, Richie, so I'm sorry.
No
But say you
worries.
don't have any bookings over the next 15 days, we're going to apply a really deep discount on that to try to get your prices lower. But once you get a couple more bookings in that same 0 to 15 day time range, we're not going to be discounting quite as much. So I personally like this option over doing like a date specific override because it is reactive to as you start to get, start to fill your calendar.
Yeah.
But a date specific override is also a good option if you just want to do a quick discount.
I think one of our attendees did also mention that for your initial bookings, Airbnb may automatically discount your prices. So do check into that. If Airbnb is already adding a discount for new or something, right? Then you may want to increase your rates in PriceLabs because you definitely don't want to double dip and really not make any money, right? There's a question Marian's asking, is it possible to have different pricing for one night bookings compared to 2 night bookings? For example, if someone wants to book Friday, the price would only increase by 100%. Becca, do you want to take that?
Yeah, so we consider this length of stay pricing. So pricing dependent on how long you're staying. We do support this, but for a limited number of connections. So like right now, my demo account is Logify, and this is one of the systems where we do allow, or they allow us to do length of stay pricing. If you have this option with the connection that you, with the account that you've connected with PriceLabs, under general, so more customizations general, you'll see this length of stay pricing adjustment option. Now, if you happen to be like a hotel operator and you're using a more like hotel-based software, you can also achieve length of stay discounts or premiums via different rate plans. And we do support those for some connections as well.
Cool. Leon has a very important question. Does super aggressive discount overwrite minimum rate?
Super important question. I should have said that. I'm so sorry for not. No, your minimum is like the number one most important thing to us. The only thing that overrides your minimum is you specifically changing your minimum, whether that's through a date override where you say change my minimum price, changing it seasonally, changing it based on booking window. But none of the pricing difference or pricing adjustments that we do will go below your minimum unless it's something that you like explicitly tell us to do. So like if you put like a fixed number, we might give you a warning that it's below your minimum, but we're not going to tell you not to do that. But no, so even if you do the super duper aggressive discounting and you put your own numbers in like minus 100 for all days, we're always going to hit that minimum. We'll never go below it.
Very cool. Cool. I think we are or we're well past our time. Thank you so much for. I still see there are about 80 people who have tuned in. I know many of you had not migrated to HLP. Apologies for the issue that we had, the tech issues that we had while trying to show you how HLP works. We'll of course be sending a video, cleaner video than the initial 20 minutes of haphazardness that we had on this call. But thank you so much for listening in. Please do give HLP a try. As always, if you have any questions, please drop that to us on support@pricelabs.co. If you can be as descriptive on your question, it just makes it easier for us to come back to you with a faster response. So if you can be descriptive on your questions, that's highly appreciated. But thank you once again for listening in and joining us here. I see there's one last question that sneaked in, and which is about thank you. So thank you so much. We love you all, and a very, very happy Thanksgiving. I see Becca's already in the fall mode. It's almost winter. That looks like fall, Becca. But very cool. Becca,
Pumpkin
anything?
pie.
I'm sorry. I thought pumpkin pie was like Halloween season. No, my bad. So
You're
bad.
not, you're not
Sorry
wrong.
if
You're not
you guys are
wrong.
listening in. I'm very sorry. But Becca, over to you if there's any closing thoughts, and then we can all of these
No,
lovely
just
68
thank you
people, we
for
can let them
sticking
go.
with us. Yeah, thank you for sticking with us. I apologize for the issues in my account. We all learned how to clear our cache today, which was great. But I hope you all have a great Thanksgiving and join us next month for the next time we do an update. Thanks so much,
Take
y'all.
care. Bye bye.